Hello, we're taking a look at a game between Bikek and Bronstein. This is a game played in the Hungary USSR match in 1955. This will be a Caro-Kann defense of the Bronstein-Larsen variation. Our themes will be controlling the diagonals, files and ranks, and better development. The ECO code for this game will be B16. So let's take a look at this game. Starts with E4, C6, D4, D5, knight to C3, D takes E4, knight takes E4. These are normal Caro-Kann moves. And now knight to F6. Normally you would see black play his bishop to F5 or his knight from B to D7. But in this variation, black brings his knight out to F6, challenging white to capture it. And naturally in this game, it's exactly what white does. He plays knight takes F6, and black responds with G takes F6. This is the beginning position of the Bronstein-Larsen variation. Black could have taken with his E-pawn, but that'd be a different variation. And now white plays C3. Now let's take a moment here. I'm going to kind of just talk a little bit about how black normally develops in this position. He'll play his bishop to F5, which will be the next game move, and then he will develop his knight to D7, push this pawn to E6, the bishop will go to D7, and the queen will go to C7. He'll castle queenside, and then eventually he will plans to push this H pawn down and attack the white king if he castles kingside. He'll also use his rooks to control the the G and H files. So also sometimes white will play his knight to F3 and instead of the pawn to C3 here. In those instances, sometimes black will play his bishop to G4 instead, and that's kind of a personal preference. I see more games played bishop to F5 than I do to G4. But anyway, back to the game. After white had played C3, black played bishop to F5, and now white plays knight to E2, and black continues with H5, the thematic pawn push. Next is knight to F4, H4, queen to F3, knight to D7, black continues his development. White plays G4, attacking the bishop, and black responds with H takes G3, taking en passant. White plays F takes G3, and now black plays E5, striking in the middle with his pawns. White plays G4. Black retreats his bishop to H7. He decides not to make the exchange of bishop and knight. He wants to keep his light squared bishop. White retreats his knight to E2, and now E takes D4 and C takes D4. Excuse me. Black's next move is bishop to B4 with check, and white could have played bishop to D2, but he preferred to play his king to F2. I guess he wanted to do this because he felt that he had a better protection on the king side. He's got more pieces there. He has a knight, bishop, and rook. If he would have maybe, let's go back a move here, if he would have maybe played bishop to G2, and after the exchange, white might have felt that his king was more exposed on the center and queen side than he would on the king side. I can only guess what the Grandmaster Bikek was thinking, but anyway, he played the move king to F2, and I'm sure he knows more about chess than I do. So, after king to F2, black played queen to E7, centralizing his queen and preparing castling. White plays bishop to G2. Black castles long. And now white plays A3, and black plays this stunner, bishop to C5. When I first seen this move, I didn't understand it. I had to look at it for a long time. And most probably, in fact, no question about it, in a blitz game, I would have definitely taken the bishop with the pawn, telling black, prove to me that your variation is correct, that I'm wrong. And basically that's sometimes what you have to do in chess. When you see something that doesn't maybe make sense to you, make your opponent prove that he's right and you're wrong. But anyway, Master Bikek decided that taking the bishop was incorrect, and he played bishop to e3. Now let's just take a look for a second. What would have happened if white would have taken the bishop with d takes c5? Black would have responded with knight to e5, not capturing the pawn, but bringing the knight in the attack against the white king. The knight attacks the queen. Like I said, he brings the knight closer to the king's position, strengthening black's attack. White would have played most probably queen to h3, and now bishop to f5 with a discovered attack with the rook against the queen. White would have played queen to g3, and now rook to d3. And this is pretty well the idea behind the bishop move. What you've got now is a white rook that controls the, black rook that controls the h file, another black rook that controls the d file and controls the third rank. He also has a knight that controls some key squares in white's position, and a bishop that has complete control over this diagonal from b1 to h7. So in effect, what black did by playing that bishop to c5, he actually activated his pieces, bringing his d rook into play, and improved the position of his knight to e5. So if you kind of take a look at the board, you would see that black has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces in the attack, and at best white has one, like you might say one with the rook, 1, 2, 3 pieces defending the king. So you can see that though white's ahead a bishop, his black's attack is much stronger. And I would encourage you to maybe take this position, write it down, and play it out against the computer. And in fact, go back to actually this move right here, the d takes c5, and play it out against the computer and see how well you do. I think you'll find that black has a much stronger position. So let's go back to the game. After that move, bishop to c5, which deserves at least in my eyes, a double exclamation. White played bishop to e3, and now black plays knight to e5, attacking the queen. Black takes the knight, and now the rook is played to d3. And like I said earlier, the bishop controls that diagonal, and the rook now has control over this rank. I can get this move. There we go. So the rook has control over the rank. White decides it's time to exchange queens. He plays queen takes f6. Black obliges. Queen takes. And now e takes f6. Rook takes e3. The rook at h moves to c1, attacking the bishop. Bishop to b6. White plays bishop to f3. And now bishop to e4. White takes, bishop takes e4. Black takes, rook takes e4 with discovered check. And pretty well, no matter where white plays, he's going to lose his knight. So at this point, white resigned and black won. And as you can see, black has all of his 3 pieces, both his rooks and his bishop has been developed. And white has this lone as his rook still on its beginning square. So in effect, you can say that once again, with good development or better development, black has 3 pieces versus white's 2, and eventually he's going to lose that knight, so it'll actually be 3 against 1 until white develops another rook, and that's why white lost and black won. So hope you enjoyed the game, and until next time.